Hong Kong 1967 smells like salt water and diesel and something frying in oil on every corner. The harbor lights reflect off the water at night in broken pieces, orange and white, shifting constantly. The city never fully sleeps. There's always someone awake somewhere, always some kind of transaction happening, always some kind of life being lived at whatever hour you happen to be out in it. Bruce Lee is out in it tonight, walking through Kowloon with his hands in his jacket pockets, following his friend Wei through streets that get narrower and less lit the further they go from the main road. Bruce is 26 years old. He has been back in Hong Kong for a couple of years now, after Seattle, after San Francisco, after trying to make things happen in America, and finding that America was not yet ready to let a Chinese man be the hero of anything. He teaches kung fu. He trains constant. He thinks about fighting the way some people think about mathematics, as a language with its own internal logic that reveals more the deeper you go into it. He is not famous. People in the martial arts community know his name. Regular people on the street do not. This is fine with Bruce. He is patient in the specific way that people are patient when they know exactly where they are going and understand that arriving takes time. Wei is an old friend from his neighborhood days. A decent fighter himself, though he never pursued it seriously the way Bruce did. Wei works in shipping now and knows people who know people, which is how he knows about the arena under the textile warehouse in Kowloon, and has been attending for 3 years without any trouble finding the entrance or getting past the door. The metal door at the bottom of the concrete stairs is guarded by a man the size of a refrigerator who looks at Wei's face and then at Bruce's face and then steps aside without a word. Inside, the space opens up in a way that surprises you after the narrow stairwell, stone walls, low ceiling crossed with pipes and ventilation ducts, bare bulbs on wires, the smoke from 200 cigarettes hanging in visible layers under the lights. The crowd is maybe 300 people arranged around a raised wooden platform in the center of the room, 2 feet off the ground, chalk lines marking its edges since there are no ropes. The noise level is significant. People talking, arguing, placing bets with men who move through the crowd with notebooks. Bruce finds a spot near the back wall and leans against it. He prefers this to pushing closer. From here he can see the whole platform, which is what matters. He is not here for the atmosphere or the gambling or the social experience of being in a room full of people watching other people fight. He is here because Wei invited him, and because Bruce has a genuine and nearly inexhaustible interest in watching anyone fight anyone, at any level, in any style, because there is always something to learn, and he has never once watched a fight, no matter how sloppy or limited, without taking something from it. The first 2 fights are unremarkable but not boring, not to Bruce anyway. The first is between 2 men about his age, both with some training, both limited by the same habits that develop when you train in isolated systems without cross-referencing against other approaches. Bruce watches one of them throw the same combination 3 times in a row and win with it twice, which tells him something about his opponent and also something about his own ego. The second fight is shorter. 1 man with real power in his right hand. His opponent finds this out early and spends the rest of the fight trying to take away the right hand, which almost works but not quite. Interesting in its specifics. Then the third fight is announced, and Bruce's attention sharpens in a different way. The woman comes in from the left side of the room. Bruce notices her before she reaches the platform because of the way she moves. Experienced movement. The particular economy of motion that only comes from a long time spent taking physical conflict seriously. She is maybe 35, compact and broad-shouldered, wearing a sleeveless top that shows arms with genuine muscle built into them. Her hair is pulled back with the tight practicality of someone who has learned the hard way that loose hair is a liability. People in certain sections of the crowd call her name Rosa. She acknowledges them without performing it, small nods, the recognition of a regular who knows her supporters. She has been here many times. She belongs to this room in a way that suggests mutual benefit. The boy who enters from the right does not belong to this room. Bruce can see that within 3 seconds of looking at him. He is young, 18 at most, and thin in the specific way that people are thin when food has been inconsistent rather than when training has been disciplined. His clothes are worn in the elbows and knees. His shoes are canvas, cheap, completely wrong for what he is about to do. He is trying to wear his face neutrally, but his eyes are giving him away, moving too quickly around the room, cataloging exits and distances and the mass of people pressing in from all sides. And yet, when he takes his position on the platform, his feet find a reasonable stance. Weight distributed, heels slightly raised, which is correct. Someone taught him something. Not enough, but something real. Bruce notes this and files it. Wei materializes at his elbow. Kid's name is Danny. They say his mother is ill. He needed the appearance fee. Bruce doesn't respond, but he is listening. The fight begins, and for the first 30 seconds, Bruce watches with genuine interest because Danny is faster than he looks. Raw speed. The kind that hasn't been trained into anything systematic yet, but is real in itself. He throws a combination that has actual snap in it, not telegraphed, not broadcast from the shoulder, and it catches Rosa on the forearm hard enough that she reassesses. Bruce can see it happen, the small recalibration in her eyes. She looks at Danny differently for a moment, the way you look at something that has surprised you, and then she makes a decision. That decision is visible in how she moves next, and what Bruce sees in it is not good. She has the skill to end this quickly. That is obvious. Instead, she starts working slowly and specifically, taking Danny apart piece by piece in a way that is designed not to finish the fight but to extend it, to create moments of spectacle, to perform. A knee strike into the outer thigh that deadens the muscle and drops Danny for a moment, followed immediately by Rosa stepping back and spreading her arms to the crowd, who respond as she intends, with noise and approval, while Danny pushes himself back upright. Then when he is back on his feet, a combination to his midsection she knows will fold him, followed again by the retreat and the performance gesture, looking out at the audience while Danny hunches over trying to recover his breath. The crowd is thoroughly entertained, laughing in places. Money changing hands along the edges of the room. Someone near the front calls out something in Cantonese that makes the people around him laugh louder. Bruce is not entertained. He is watching something specific, and what he is watching is a person with significant skill, using that skill not to compete but to humiliate. There is a word in Chinese that describes the violation of a particular kind of dignity, the dignity that belongs to a person regardless of their position or ability. And what Rosa is doing violates it methodically and deliberately. The crowd does not fully see this because the crowd is watching a show. Bruce sees it because he is watching a fight, which is a different activity entirely. Then Rosa does something that moves past performance into genuine harm. Danny is bent over with his hands on his knees, catching his breath after the body shots, which is a moment that every fighting tradition Bruce has ever studied treats as protected. You do not strike a man who is down and recovering his breath. This is not a formal rule in a room like this, but it is an understanding. The kind of understanding that exists because people who fight regularly understand that removing it makes fighting into something else entirely, something that no one who genuinely respects combat wants any part of. Rosa grabs the back of Danny's head with both hands and drives his face down toward her rising knee. Danny manages to turn his head. The knee catches the side of his face rather than full contact. It is enough to split the skin above his eyebrow open and to send him stumbling toward the edge of the platform, one foot going over the edge before he catches himself, blood starting down his face in a thin, bright line. The crowd erupts like this is the best thing they have seen all night. Bruce is already moving. He does not fully decide to move. His body is simply in motion, and his mind catches up with it a step or two in. He is through the crowd, which parts ahead of him, partly because he is moving with a kind of focused velocity that people get out of the way of without quite knowing why, and he is up onto the platform before the cheering from that last moment has fully peaked. The room takes several seconds to understand what is happening. A man has stepped onto the platform. Not a fighter, not a promoter. Some young man nobody placed, standing between Rosa and Danny with his hands at his sides. Rosa turns and looks at him. Her performance expression is still on her face, but something underneath it has activated, the sharper and more genuine version. "Get off the platform," she says, not loudly. The voice of someone accustomed to having instructions followed. Bruce does not look at her. He is looking at Danny, who is on one knee at the edge of the platform with blood tracking down the right side of his face and his chest heaving with the effort of breathing through the midsection damage he has taken. Danny looks up at this stranger who appeared from nowhere with an expression that contains equal parts confusion, embarrassment, and the particular wary suspicion of someone who has learned that unexpected intervention often has a cost attached to it. Bruce crouches down in front of him. Not beside him, in front of him, which puts Bruce's body between Danny and Rosa. He looks at Danny's face. The cut above the eyebrow is bleeding steadily, but it is not as deep as it looked from the crowd. The eye underneath it is clear. No other obvious damage to the face, though the midsection damage is real and the thigh muscle will be painful tomorrow. "Can you stand?" Bruce asks. His voice is completely ordinary, conversational, as if they are the only two people in the building. Danny stares at him. "What? Can you get to your feet? I need to see how you're standing." I can stand, Danny says, with the quick defensiveness of a young person who does not want to be seen needing help even when he clearly needs it. Slowly. Don't rush the first step. Bruce puts one hand on Danny's forearm, not supporting him, just providing contact, a physical reference point. Danny gets his feet under him and comes upright. He sways once and then steadies. His legs are working. Good. While this is happening, the crowd has been building towards something. The confusion has burned off and been replaced by excitement, the particular excitement of an audience that senses something unscripted, and therefore more real than what they came for. A chant starts in the middle of the room. Fight, fight, fight. It spreads fast, the way chants spread when they say what a crowd already wants. Rosa has not moved from where she was standing. She has been watching Bruce with the same focused recalculation she applied to Danny in the first 30 seconds of the fight, but this is a more serious version. She is reading him, and what she is reading is making her recalibrate significantly. The way he moved through the crowd, the way he positioned himself, the way he crouched without losing his balance or his awareness of her location. He is not a civilian who stumbled into a moment. He is something else. She is not sure what yet. The chanting crowd has given her a strategic option, and she takes it. If she makes this a match, she turns an intrusion into an event. She controls the narrative. She becomes the person who fought Bruce Lee, whoever Bruce Lee turns out to be, rather than the person who got interrupted. She gestures toward him with an open hand, playing to the crowd, an invitation that is also a challenge. The crowd gets louder. Bruce glances at her over his shoulder. That knee when he was down isn't sanctioned here, he says, not aggressive, not loud. Just factual, like pointing out a simple error in arithmetic. The chanting does not stop, but there is a ripple through the room, a pocket of quiet spreading outward from the people who were close enough to hear clearly. A few people are exchanging looks. The discomfort of realizing you have been applauding something you would not have applauded if you had seen it clearly. Rose's face tightens. He signed a contract. He knew what this was. He knew he was signing up for a fight, Bruce says, turning back to Danny and taking a folded piece of cloth from his jacket pocket. He always has cloth on him, the habit of someone who trains and cleans and prepares practically for physical work. He folds it once more and presses it against the cut above Danny's eyebrow. He didn't know you were going to grab his head while he was down. Those are different agreements. He looks at Danny. Hold this. Press hard with the heel of your hand. Don't ease off. Danny takes over pressing the cloth. His hand is mostly steady now. He is watching Bruce with an expression that has moved past confusion into something more careful and attentive. I don't need your help, Danny says, but he says it without conviction, more like something he feels obligated to say than something he believes. I know you don't, Bruce says. Your footwork was right when you started. Whoever taught you something real. But you were fighting someone who outweighs you by 40 pounds of actual muscle, and she wasn't fighting clean, and you were going to go off this platform head first in about 30 more seconds. So, he pauses. Danny holds the cloth. Rosa attacks. It is not entirely unexpected. Bruce has been tracking her weight and her positioning with the peripheral awareness that 20 years of training builds into a person until it becomes automatic, below conscious thought, just information that arrives. She has been shifting her weight forward for several seconds, and her right shoulder has dropped slightly in the way shoulders drop when someone is about to use that arm. He does not turn around. He waits until the last possible moment, until her strike is fully committed and cannot be redirected by its source, and then he turns into it. This is a specific choice. Turning into an attack rather than away from it is counterintuitive and requires a particular kind of confidence in your timing, because if your timing is off, it is much worse than simply moving away. Bruce's timing is not off. He has been training for this since he was 13 years old. He turns left into Rosa's attack, and the palm strike she has aimed at the back of his neck passes over his shoulder as he ducks slightly under it. Being inside her reach now, closer than she intended him to be, he is in the space where her size and strength advantages mean nothing because there is no room to generate power. His left hand redirects her striking arm across her own body, using the momentum she has already committed, and his right hand braces against her shoulder. It is not a throw, it is a redirect. Rosa takes 2 rapid steps forward, carried by her own physics, and uses the 3rd step to stop herself at the platform's edge. The room makes a sound like a stadium. Thousands of individual reactions compressed into one collective noise. Rosa turns back around. The performance is entirely gone from her face now. What is underneath it is the unguarded expression of a genuinely skilled fighter who has been shown clearly and without any ambiguity that they are outclassed. It is not a comfortable expression. It is especially uncomfortable to wear in public, in front of your regular audience, in the room where you have established your reputation across many fights over several years. She attacks again, and this time there is no performance in it at all. It is a real combination, the kind she reserves for serious opponents. Jab to establish distance and timing, cross behind it with real power, low kick aimed at the lead knee which is meant to buckle the base and set up the follow-up. It is well constructed. The parts relate to each other, each one creating the conditions for the next. Bruce knows the sequence before it arrives, because he has seen its bones in a dozen different styles, the same logic expressed in different vocabularies. He does not attempt to stop any individual part of it. Moves around the whole thing the way water finds the space beside a stone rather than pushing through it. His movement is small, there is no drama in it. Each part of Rosa's combination meets empty space. The jab clips air 6 inches from his jaw. The cross passes over his shoulder as he ducks it with a movement that looks smaller than it is. The low kick reaches empty space because his weight has already shifted backward before her leg is fully extended. He steps in while she is still completing the kick, and his right hand closes around her left wrist. Gently, that is the detail that matters. He is not wrenching it, he is not applying pain. He is simply holding it with a grip that incorporates the mechanical principles of Wing Chun structure and cannot be broken by strength alone, certainly not by the kind of pulling and twisting Rosa immediately tries. She tries several directions, the grip does not change. He intercepts her free hand at the elbow as it comes toward him, a motion so small and economical that most of the crowd does not actually see it happen. They see only that Rosa is standing there and Bruce is standing beside her, and Rosa looks like a person who is stuck. She tries to break free for several more seconds. He lets her try, and this is also deliberate. The trying is part of the teaching. When someone genuinely skilled tries everything they know how to try and finds that none of it changes the fundamental situation, that is a different kind of learning than any technique demonstration can provide. Rosa tries, the grip holds. Enough, Bruce says one word. Quiet enough that only Rosa and possibly Danny can hear it clearly. Rosa looks at him for a long moment. Something moves through her expression that is complicated. Anger because she is a proud person and this is a significant public humiliation. Something that might be respect, because she is experienced enough to recognize genuine mastery when it puts its hand around her wrist. Something that might be shame, because she is also, underneath everything, a person who knows exactly what she was doing to Danny and chose to do it anyway. Bruce releases her wrist. She steps back, does not say anything, goes to the edge of the platform and sits down, which in this context is as close to an acknowledgement as anyone is going to get. The crowd is in chaos. Arguments are breaking out in several sections simultaneously. The people who thought this was entertainment and are angry that it was interrupted. The people who understood what was said about the knee and are reprocessing what they cheered for. The people who are simply stunned by what they watched Bruce do and want to talk about it. The promoter is having an urgent conversation with one of his assistants. Money is changing hands in new directions. Bruce turns back to Danny. Still holding? He asks. Danny's hand is pressed against his eyebrow. Good. A few more minutes. When you take it away, don't pull it off. Peel it up from the edge so it doesn't reopen. Bruce looks at the eye underneath the cut, checking the pupil, checking tracking. Everything looks clear. The kid is going to be all right. Is there someone who can look at that cut tonight? It might need closing. My neighbor was a medic, Danny says. Army medic. That'll do perfectly. Bruce straightens up. Looks at Danny properly for the first time without the context of immediate crisis. The kid is looking back at him with an expression that Bruce cannot entirely read, which is unusual because Bruce is generally good at reading people. There are too many things in it. Embarrassment is there, the embarrassment of a young man who got dominated in public and then had to be helped by a stranger. But there is also something more careful and attentive, something that is doing its own kind of reading. Why did you get up here? Danny asks. Not accusatory, genuinely wanting to know. Bruce considers this for a moment. Because she grabbed your head when you were down, and because the crowd didn't notice or didn't care. Someone needed to. He says it simply. Not like it is a grand principle, like it is just the explanation for a straightforward decision. Danny looks at him. You're going to have problems with her. She has friends here, maybe, Bruce says. That's a tomorrow problem. Something shifts in Danny's face. The embarrassment is still there, but it is sitting differently now, next to something else that has more room. I had her in the first 30 seconds, Danny says, and it comes out sounding both true and slightly defensive at the same time. You did, Bruce says. Your left combination. Second exchange, that was real. Where did you learn that? Danny looked surprised to be asked. My uncle. He trained in Shanghai before the war. He showed me things. He showed you good things. The footwork especially. Bruce means it. He is not saying it to make the kid feel better. He is saying it because it is what he observed, and Bruce does not say things he does not observe. You have speed that most people your age don't have. What you don't have yet is the reading. You couldn't see what she was setting up. With experience, you'll see it earlier. The setup is always there before the technique. Danny is quiet for a moment. Then he says, "Who are you?" Bruce Lee. The name means something to Danny, but not yet very much. Not the way it will in several years. Right now it is the name of a man who teaches kung fu and has done some things in martial arts circles. Not a household name, not a legend, just a name. Do you teach? Danny asks. I do. Danny presses the cloth against his eyebrow. Does not say anything else. But he is thinking about something. Bruce can see it happening. Wei appears at the edge of the platform. We should probably go, he says, looking at the promoter, who is still having his urgent conversation and glancing in their direction. Not urgently. Bruce nods. He looks at Danny one more time. Clean that cut tonight. Press for 10 minutes, then clean it, then have your neighbor look at it. Don't let it go until tomorrow. I know how to take care of a cut, Danny says. I know you do, Bruce says. I'm saying it anyway. He steps off the platform. The crowd parts as he walks through it. Some people reach out to touch his arm or say something. He acknowledges them briefly, keeps moving. At the door, the large man steps aside for him without being asked, which was not what he did when they arrived. Something has changed in the room's assessment of this person. Wei follows Bruce up the concrete stairs and out into the cool Kowloon night. They walk for half a block before Wei says anything. You know she's going to tell people that was a setup, that you were planted. She can say whatever she wants, Bruce says. The promoter might not invite you back. I wasn't planning to come back. Wei considers this. The kid was going to get hurt. The kid got hurt. She was going to put him head first off the platform. There's a difference. Bruce pauses to let a bicycle pass. He has real speed. Someone taught him properly. It would be a waste. Wei looks at him sideways. You're going to find out where he trains. Bruce says nothing, which is its own kind of answer. What actually happens is that Danny finds Bruce. 3 weeks later, through the small and interconnected world of Hong Kong's martial arts community, Danny shows up at the school where Bruce teaches and stands at the door with his hands in his pockets and asks if there are any spaces in the beginner class. The cut above his eyebrow has healed to a thin scar. He is standing straighter than he was in the arena, which might be the healing or might be something else. Bruce looks at him for a moment. The beginner class is full, he says. Come back Tuesday evening. I'll work with you separately for an hour and we'll see where you actually are. Danny comes back Tuesday, and the Tuesday after that, and the Tuesday after that. He is a serious student, the kind who does not need to be told to practice because he is already practicing when you arrive. He has the raw material, and he has the hunger, and he has the specific quality of attention that Bruce values most in a student, which is not talent or even work ethic, but the willingness to truly revise what you think you know when confronted with evidence that it is wrong. Danny has all of this. He becomes one of Bruce's better students over the following year. He never directly mentions the arena. Bruce never brings it up. It exists between them as shared context that does not need to be spoken because it already said everything it needed to say. A boy was being humiliated in front of a crowd. A man got up and stood between him and it. That is the whole story, and it is enough. It was enough then, and it is enough now, and it will be enough later when the world knows Bruce Lee's name and Danny's children are watching his films, and Danny tells his wife very quietly that he met that man once in Kowloon in 1967 when Bruce was nobody and Danny was nobody, and it did not matter because what happened between them had nothing to do with fame. It had to do with someone standing up when standing up was the right thing to do. Bruce Lee never thought of it as anything more than that. A decision made quickly that turned out to be the right one. A boy who needed someone in his corner. A crowd that needed to be reminded that entertainment and cruelty are not the same thing. He would have done it for anyone. That was the entire point. That was always the entire point. Not that he was Bruce Lee, that it was the right thing. That was enough.